Death is something that's very hard for many people to talk about.
But it's something that's so important to talk about. Tonight, News 4's Luke Moretti shows us an unusual way that some people are now discussing the end of life.
Coffee, cake, and death. Not what you would normally expect to see on a menu, unless you're attending a death cafe, where strangers meet and talk with an eye toward making the most of life. Where did we find this local gathering? Where else? A cemetery. Listen closely. You'll hear voices inside this Niagara Falls cemetery.
It's going to happen to everybody. It's only a matter of when.
While it's the final resting place for some 20,000 souls, it's also where the living come to talk about dying.
We're scared of it. We don't know much about it.
As coffee brews and cakes are plated on a humid July night,
probably at the lowest point right now.
People from all walks gather inside the former caretaker's house on the grounds of Oakwood Cemetery.
You might learn the value of life when you see somebody struggling to try to live.
A topic that has seen its share of darkness is out in the open, at least for a couple of hours on this night.
Those emotions are going to start surfacing, and sometimes that's the scary part.
Welcome to the Death Cafe in Niagara Falls. Tim Baxter is a co-facilitator and the cemetery's director of operations.
If you talk about death, you will become more appreciative of life.
That's the simple philosophy of a concept that began in England a few years ago.
It really could be called Life Cafe, but Death Cafe kind of catches people's attention. And
We're missing something because we've sanitized and hidden death from life.
Michelle Kratz, a librarian and historian, is the Death Cafe's other facilitator.
I think what I've learned is that death, just like life, is a beautiful thing. It's human, and it's okay.
People have questions. What happens when I die? Where will I go? How will loved ones cope without me?
I would like to be able to talk about death, not only with people who are dying, but with my family so that they won't undergo the grief or the sadness.
Death is not an easy topic. For many, just the thought of it produces anxiety and fear.
That people are not born into this world knowing how to die or understanding how to care for someone who's dying.
University at Buffalo professor Deborah Waldrop, an expert in aging and end-of-life care, says people sometimes struggle with the meaning of their own life.
Realizing that you're reaching the end of life and thinking to yourself, how does my life matter? Does what I've done make a difference in people's lives? Sort of seeing yourself in the context of the bigger picture.
But on this night in the Cataract City, the big picture is just a few steps away. It's the inevitable, the sure thing.
what happens to you after you die, I don't know. I really don't.
According to DeathCafe.com, the intention is not to lead people to any conclusion, product, or course of action. It's simply a discussion about death with no agenda, no objectives, and no themes. Luke Moretti, News 4.